What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. The NBA season is finally here. It is opening night tonight. We've got NBA basketball back. Hopefully everyone's fantasy draft's gone well. Hopefully you don't have too many injured players on your team. I mean, if you're a Grizzlies fan or a Kings fan right now, you're a little bit worried about who's going to be your starters on opening night. But it's all good in the hood out in New York. And I think Chicago is looking a little bit okay too. But thanks for joining in with us. Remember, if you're on social media, we are everywhere at Coast to Coast NBA. Remember, you're on YouTube. Leave that comment. Leave that 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You do that, we'll keep producing that content. On today's episode, we're going to be doing a little preseason deep dive. Chris is very excited to talk about some stuff that he saw from preseason. As you might know, I'm not really one for paying too much attention to preseason, but I have an interesting conversation to have about the non-playoff teams from last year and the burning question each one of them needs to answer going into the 25-26 season. But before we get into it, Chris, how you doing, man?
Listen, I'm pretty good. I don't know why we got to start so negative with these preseason stuff, but I'm pretty excited to talk about it. I think maybe you just might be a little under the weather after what you saw yesterday from your Giants, but let's not let that carry over, man. Today's a new day. We can think about some hopeful things here. But I should ask you how you're doing. To see that live in a bar with your friend. I mean, at least you had some emotional support there. But that was a distressing game to watch.
Yeah, it was really ugly. It was we somehow managed to blow it and then save it and then blow it again. That was like a really tough thing to watch. Thankfully, I was sitting next to a Chargers fan and a Raiders fan, so they could suffer there with me. But the night ended with the four of us winning a parlay together. So I mean, it had a positive ending. There you go.
Beauty of betting. It's even worse when you lose and you lose your parlay, but at least you had that win. But no, man, I'm excited. Let's talk about some preseason stuff. The real season starts today. But the point of the preseason, I think, just like it is in Summer League, is to look for flashes. And, in Summer League, it's even less reliable because you're seeing players play against second, third strings, maybe even players you won't even see on an NBA roster. Preseason, you're starting to get a feel for, what does the depth chart look like? What are some of the principles that we want to see these teams implementing throughout the season? And I want to start with a few players who I think, put together a nice little preseason highlight reel. And let's talk about it. Do we think it's real? Do we think it's fake? And I just want to start with my very own Modest Buzelis from the Chicago Bulls. Has been making a lot of noise in the preseason. He's a guy that last season really went under the radar, picked late in the lottery, was looked at as a non-shooter, questionable role on offense, has some great defensive upside as a big wing, but probably was going to be like a role player. And throughout the season, continue to get better, showed that he has more shooting touch than his 1 year in the G League had demonstrated. Looked more like that high school level shooter that he had shown. Showed he has a little bit of chops to handle the ball. Shows that he can defend 3-4 positions. And really showed off that weak side help defensively. In this preseason, I think he's shown how that is almost just really taken off. He's handling the ball in the pick and roll. He's handling the ball in isolation. He's being really decisive with his moves. He's being very fluid, like we've seen him. A 6'10 wing, showing that he can play ISO, he can play make, he's shooting the three, he can defend the ball, and he's looking real confident. I mean, how are you feeling about that? And maybe your answer to every single one of these guys is, hey, man, it's preseason. But to see the confidence in a second-year player, to see the potential on both ends of the floor, do you feel like this is real or do you think this is fake?
I feel like there's got to be something there. I just kind of wondering, is he capable of getting to the level now where he can kind of take over as the Bulls kind of lead guy here, or is it still going to be Kobe and Giddey? It's going to be interesting. It's still year two. He's still a young guy. There's still not that demand on him right away. But I do like what I see from Buzelis, and he's a guy I want to believe in. I think I mentioned to you before, I was watching that show on Netflix that Shaq and Iverson were doing, trying to bring Reebok back, and they were trying to sign Buzelis, and they did sign Buzelis, and just the way he spoke and his manner, he's a guy that comes across really well, and I think if his talent can replicate that on the floor with the way he speaks and the potential abilities that he does have, this could be a real player, and that could be like this could be the first building block of maybe a new success story in Chicago. There's still a lot they have to figure out there, but I believe in Buzelis being a building block for that far more than I did about Patrick Williams a couple of years back, even though he is still on the roster.
Yeah, Pat, like, you talk about a guy that this is a big thing with these young guys, is where is the drive? Where's the work ethic? Where's the, the real desire to be the guy? And Patrick Williams never had it. Patrick Williams, I mean, there's no one saying he's a bad worker. There's no one saying he's lazy, but you never got the sense from him that he had that fire to be the best player. I mean, Matas, everyone says it, that, they want to be the best player in the league. They want to win a championship. But, I mean, that is, like, through and through, like, how he comes through in his interviews. That's what he talks about the most. He talks about how hard he works and how much he wants to be the best player, how much he wants the Bulls to get back to competing for championships. And, I mean, I think that shines through with how much he's improved. I don't think it's a hot take to say that he has a strong case to be pushing for most improved this year. I think that he'll come through in top 3, top 4 in MIP voting. I think that he'll jump up his rookie numbers. I think he'll be averaging 16 points a game. I think he'll be pushing 5 rebounds. And I think his shooting percentages are going to look pretty decent as well. This is a guy that's going to be shooting a lot more threes. I don't think he's going to be the kind of guy that is already the number one player, but the potential for him to be a secondary player alongside Kobe, alongside Giddey, to really attack whatever kind of advantages that those primary creators are making for him. I mean, he's got potential to be that second guy while proving he's a good off-ball shooter. I think he's shown enough of that, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that MIP conversation is interesting because, I mean, Dyson Daniels, the guy who won it last year, he's a guy we saw build, basically his defense is what kind of built his case for the MIP with a little bit of offense mixed in, and that could be like something in a similar way that Buzelis could do it this year for sure.
Yeah. Now, another guy's getting a lot of hype, staying in the Eastern Conference, Kel'el Ware. The idea of Kel'el Ware in the draft last season was insane. It's a 7-footer, 3-point shooter, rim protector, but where's the motor? And we saw flash throughout the season. We thought that, okay, Miami Heat, that's going to be the best place where he's going to be. They're going to work him hard. If he's going to succeed, it'll be a place like this. Now, we've seen some pretty crazy flashes. We've seen him taking step-back threes, taking guys off the dribble, really working hard in the paint. But those are highlights. Do we feel like he's turning a corner here? Is he ready to really be a starter for Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat?
It's really hard to make that call right now. I mean, I feel like you'd like to see it in the sense that I really don't see what Miami have. I know it's Miami. They're always going to try and be competitive. I know they got Bam Adebayo, but like outside of that, they are still just a team waiting for that guy to come around in free agency. Hopefully, like that's still who the Miami Heat are. So I would like to see him. I would like to see a lot of minutes with him and Bam on the floor together. I think that could be a very interesting combo. I would like to see Miami go to that early in the season, but to say that it will definitely happen, I'm not sure, but something I'd like to see for sure. I'd like to see more of him, and I think Miami should just go and give him a chance. I don't think they need to be concerned with really being that competitive, even though they're playing in the old Eastern Conference as we know it.
Yeah, interesting. We'll definitely have a talk about Miami in a second, but on Kel'el on the whole, I agree. I do want to see him on the floor. I do think, however, these highlights we're seeing on the floor are not particularly real. You look at what Spoelstra's talking about, they still want Kel'el to earn it. They want Ware to really earn his minutes. We've seen still, even in preseason, sometimes where he's been pulled for lack of effort. So you've seen that wax and wane. Whereas when you see with Jovic, the comments are always about how hard he works, how he's always engaged, and that's why he's currently the starter. So I think that I love that, this is part of that dynamic where we believe that this is potentially a special player, but he's going to have to work for it. And the place that it's going to be is Miami. And they're currently doing that. They're currently making him work for it, currently making him earn it. So if he's going to be that guy, it's going to have to be through, the fire that Spoelstra puts him through. But the flashes I've seen, man, I mean, just seeing a guy who's this big and so good as a rim protector, taking a KD type of step back three. I mean, I don't think that's going to be like your typical. But that's the NBA we live in today, man. Where a guy like him is just taking easy shots like that. But tantalizing talent. Don't think it's there yet. We'll see halfway through the season where that depth chart battle goes. But we'll talk about Miami in a second. I think they're actually a little more interesting than we give them credit for when you look at the roster they put together here. I'm really excited for this next guy and this team in general. I hope we have a chance to talk about that. But Shaedon Sharpe, how are we feeling about him? We've seen some highlights. We see highlights every year, but I mean, the issue is the consistency of him being engaged on defense, the shooting percentages. Not really quite adjusting to the flow of NBA defense. He has really made strides with this last year. And there's something about watching him in preseason that it feels like things have slowed down for him in a meaningful way. Do you get that sense?
A little bit, yeah. And you have to think that I think the Blazers in their mind think they've got a steal with that extension that they gave him. He signed a 4-year, $90 million deal with them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like in their minds, they're kind of getting that done early to avoid him kind of playing above that this season. I think there's an element of that in their minds. I think they know what they've got on this player. Is someone who he started over 50 games last year for them, right? And obviously, flash. This guy is a human highlight reel. Like he brings all that smoke. Like he's gonna posterize centers even at his size. He's gonna be a guy that fans are really gonna get behind. And now it's just about building that consistency as a ball handler, as a playmaker, and as a scorer. And slowly but surely, it's coming together. And I think especially with the struggles of Scoot Henderson, I think that guard spot is open for him right now, and I think seeing him play alongside Drew Holiday, I think that could be a perfect backcourt partner for him in Portland this year.
Yeah, I mean, I still have some faith in Scoot. Scoot made some strides last year. We'll see how he looks this year once he's healthy. But for Shaedon, I think we got to remember that coming into his fourth year, this is a guy that when he was drafted, we knew it would take time. We knew he was a raw prospect. We knew it would take years. And I think we all had consensus on how much of a talent we thought he was. It was just a question of how high he gets. If he reaches that true potential. When you look at that draft class of your Paolo Bancheros, your Chet Holmgrens, I mean, he was up there. There's debate about whether or not you take a swing on a guy like him, especially at that wing position. The guy that is a Paul George level of a physical talent, that quick twitch, rim attacking, that shooting touch. And I think the reason why preseason feels a little different for me is that, again, it's preseason. You're not having the same defensive pressure, but things feel a little bit slower for him. He's a little bit more calculated with his first step. That shot just looks so fluid. He's choosing between taking those floaters and getting all the way to the rim. He's not just attacking the rim at will. He's being a little bit more choosy with it. So it almost seems like his game is starting to round out. And I think the question I just have for him is, is he going to be engaged defensively throughout the year for Billups to really trust him and keep him and keep his minutes up? And if that part of the picture is there, I really still believe there's a multi-time All-Star in there, man. I just see that, he has that potential. It's just a question of if he can put it together consistently. And if he does it on this team, I think this team will be competitive. I'll have a chance to do so.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting. I guess Portland as well. They got rid of Anthony Simons this past offseason as a guy who could do it offensively, but maybe wasn't as engaged as they would have liked on the defensive end. And now this is Shaedon Sharpe's going to be potentially given the opportunity to prove that he can at least be a consistent performer on defense, at least be an honest defender and contribute on that side of the ball as well, because I'm sure they also believe that he could be the main engine of their offense too. But if he's not doing on defense, I think defense is an area where I think this Portland team is really trying to build their identity on, and he has to be a contributor there too, like you said.
Yeah, and we talked about him a few times already preseason, but I love that Reed Sheppard topped off his preseason performances with a 29-point bomb against the Atlanta Hawks. May or may not have had some, draft night regret, not picking him. They thought he was a quote unquote Patrick Mahomes type of player, which is kind of crazy to say, and then you don't end up picking him. But I mean, this guy looks confident in preseason. He's playing with a lot of swag. He was really attacking defensively, attacking in transition, taking step back threes, using the hezzy to get to his mid range, being confident in the pick and roll. I mean, man, this guy is. I think the sky's the limit for him with this team. I think the more and more that you get the idea of like who he can be with them. Again, I know we have that December timeline. We don't know if he's going to be ready, but there was no better way for him to answer whether or not he's ready for this regular season than how he's performed in this preseason, I think.
Yeah, man, those seven stocks. Yeah, man, is that something we're going to see moving forward? Probably not, but the rest of it. I mean, just watching that, obviously, it did open my eyes. I mean, we had talked about Reed Sheppard before, maybe him not being ready to take over and play real minutes for this Houston team, but I'm just gonna like keep on watching now and kind of see when is the next time we see him put together a performance like that in the regular season. Like, how early does that come? Like we mentioned, kind of being willing to be patient with him and give him that extra bit of time this season to really put himself into the major minutes rotation with this team. But we know this guy is a sharpshooter, and that's always an easy way to get minutes in the NBA, especially on this Houston team where there is some questions about their ability to shoot the basketball. So I think the opportunities are going to be there for him. I think Houston and Ime Udoka will want to give him opportunities. It's just going to be the question of whether or not he can take them. But like a performance like that against Atlanta, and majority of that was against the Atlanta starters as well, I think that's a great sign, and I'm just going to be keeping my eyes peeled now to see when we see one of those performances in the regular season and how he builds off the preseason run that he had.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say this: playing against Nickeil Alexander-Walker too, who's assigned to him for a few plays there, I think seeing Sheppard's tempo and his ball handling, and that he wasn't disrupted the same way that you saw him get disrupted last season. Last season, you come on the court, you could tell there's so much pressure, and it just felt so obvious that the moment was a little bit too big for him at times, especially in these like mid-game scenarios where they're protecting a lead or trying to come back, and just that extra pressure on him. There's just a target on his back, and it didn't feel that way. It felt like he was able to like get into his handle, and I can't help but look at that performance and look at him making those moves against a guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and feel like, I don't feel that crazy to say that I think he'll be the starting point guard by December.
Yeah, no, that's like you sent me that thing yesterday about the Rockets starting lineup, and like
Wild.
my first instinct like that, this is insane. Like I'm already intrigued with how many minutes they'll actually play together, how long it'll actually last as their starting lineup. Like there's definitely room to maneuver there, but yeah, like Reed Sheppard is one of the more interesting guys to watch this year. The guy still could have like still has star level talent, even though we didn't see it as a rookie. He wouldn't be the first guy to kind of crop out his rookie year and then bounce back into stardom. So I think Reed Sheppard again remains one of the guys to watch for real this year.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen yet, the Rockets starting lineup announced is Amen Thompson at the point, KD at the 2 spot, and again, this is positionless basketball. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Jabari, and then you got Şengün at the 4. And Adams at the 5. They are planning on beating the living hell out of every team in the paint, getting every single rebound, and I guess we'll see what that looks like. But it looked pretty good in the playoffs, so for a whole season, that should be really interesting to see.
For sure, but yeah, Houston, we'll get to see them tonight. They're playing opening night against those OKC Thunder boys.
Yeah. Okay, I will save you my mini rant on Bryce Sensabaugh, but keep a lookout at Utah. They got a lot of young guys. This is another sharpshooter that's coming out. No one really talks about this guy, but really lighting it up in preseason. Utah needs a shooter. I think he'll be out there, but they'll be among some of the non-playoff teams that we definitely have questions for. Where do we start there, Ronan?
All right, we'll do a little back and forth here. We'll go between the East and the West. I'll start it out East with a pretty easy one. We'll start with the Atlanta Hawks. And for the Atlanta Hawks, my question is the question they need to answer this season: can they mount a top six finish? This is a team that was 40-42 last year, missed the playoffs, but they made some big moves, and now the pressure is on. There's some teams that have dropped out of the top six from last year in the East. Well, we imagine they're going to drop out anyway, in the Celtics and the Pacers and maybe even the Bucks. So the pressure's on for them, and then we'll see. Are they good enough? Is this roster good enough? Is this coach good enough to get these players in shape and mount a top six finish in the East?
Yeah. I think to add on to that, I think the answer is very much yes. And the question is KP going to be healthy? If KP is healthy, I have enough faith in this team, in the players on this team, that, and in Quinn Snyder for that matter, that they should be top six in the East. If they are not top six in the East, I mean, at that point, trade Trey, fire Quinn, fire everybody, just start over. I mean, you have way too much going for you. You have probably, I think they are maybe the winners of free agency, minus the Rockets, who obviously got KD. So maybe they're in second place there. They got the head coach. They got the depth. They got the star. They got a rising star in Johnson. I mean, there's just nothing on paper that doesn't scream a top four finish. They shouldn't be in the top six. They should be in the top four. They should be playing for home court advantage with how much talent they've amassed and how much confidence they have there. So I think it would be, is KP healthy? Is he going to come down with something weird? Is he going to be injured? Will he be available? He's really their X factor to turning them into something huge.
Yeah, exactly. And like obviously you think he'll be trying to play through some stuff as well. He's a guy looking to earn a nice extension as well.
Yeah.
You know, we all know with him, like it's always questionable with his health and things like that, but his impact is undeniable, as we saw with the Boston Celtics. So the Hawks will be hoping that he can replicate that, and I think he'll be too, so he can find a way to some more money. But I think that's definitely going to be the key. But yeah, the Hawks, they got to answer the call this year. There's no more playing finishes for them. It has to be a top six, and like you said, KP is going to be crucial for that. Switching over to the West, pretty easy one. The Sacramento Kings, can they not suck? Is there a world where the Sacramento Kings don't suck?
That's fair. That's fair. I guess my nuanced question with that is, can Zach LaVine get back to what he was with the Bulls? I think that's the key for them getting better here. He just did not look comfortable, and I think the idea of a DHO working with a guy like LaVine makes sense. I mean, he's a better shooter, more consistent shooter than Fox was. I think he's not quite the same like crafty downhill guy, not the same playmaker. But we know that Sabonis can run an offense. We know that if you put shooters around him, if you put cutters around him, that's something that works. And we saw LaVine last year with the Chicago Bulls, who thrived really just working as an off-ball shooting threat, moving around the wings, really being an advantageous cutter. And if he can do that, if he can get back to the level, I mean, Zach LaVine's got a lot to prove. You know, he just got traded from the Bulls. Bulls are turning the page, new chapter, and he's with DeMar again. I mean, there's just a lot of things for them to prove, Sabonis for him to prove, the Kings as an organization to prove, and everyone's counting them out. They've really kind of exited the scene of conversation for any sort of playoff contention here, and they're just going all in on offense. We'll see how it goes. I don't feel great about it, but yeah.
I mean, I feel like how the off season has gone so far is like the start of things to come. Keegan Murray is already going to be out after getting paid, which is disappointing. They bring in Russell Westbrook. Their whole team just feels like guards. They got LaVine, Schroeder, Westbrook, DeRozan, Monk, Ellis. I mean, I'm so worried about like the size of this team. I'm gonna really worry about the defense of this team. Like your only hope for them is, can they at least be fun? Can we see like LaVine and DeRozan have their moments in games where they can find a way to keep it close and those guys can pull wins out for them? That's that feels like the best case scenario for this Kings team, which is so sad to say because it wasn't too long ago where we were really like bought into them, and they're that first year under Mike Brown, and then that just completely blew up, and now it looks like they're just head right back to the abyss, which is obviously just really tough.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk about the Russell Westbrook signing, but I'll just say justice for Keon Ellis. I mean, this guy deserves playing time. He's such a great two-way player, and love Russ, but man, is it time to go? We'll see. We'll be following that throughout the season.
Yeah, of course. All right, back over to the East. Your boys, the Chicago Bulls. I kept it simple here. I just said, can they be fun to watch? Can
They are.
keep things
What?
interesting?
They are going to be
That's
fun.
it.
If you want to watch some good basketball this year, if you want to watch some fast-paced basketball, go watch Chicago Bulls. They are going to rack up the score every night. They're going to play a lot of tough, maybe not great defense, but they're going to be pesky defensively. They're going to run the open floor. They're going to get a lot of assists. The ball's going to be moving. They're going to try and shoot a lot of threes. They may not make a lot of threes, but this is a team that I think will definitively be fun. I think it will be at the detriment of their future. I think they'll win too many games because they'll play so fast, and I think they've really found a good identity of doing so. I love the Noah Senge pick. He really fits that perfectly. Like we talked about Matas, it fits in that well as well. He runs the floor so well. So they just really formed a team that makes sense around Josh Giddey, but it's not a team that makes sense to win a championship. It's not a team that makes sense to make a deep run in the playoffs. It's a team that makes sense to be fun and to make the play-in. So you're really reading the minds of the Chicago Bulls organization because that's exactly what they plan to do. And heck, that's all we got. So we'll take it and we'll just hope that the balls roll in our favor in the summer and we finally get a true cornerstone. Or maybe Mata shows us that he's that. Maybe that's the fun. For Bulls fans, you just hope that Modest gets all the run he will. I think he will. And if he shows that he's something more than just a, couple time All-Star, maybe, hey, this is the guy. And let me just throw this out. I know I ranted a lot about Modest, but damn it, give me something to talk about with the Bulls. Look at a guy like Franz Wagner, and he is arguably a top 35 player, top 40 player. And the thing holding him back is the 3-point shot. We'd argue maybe he's a top 25, top 20 player if that 3-point shot comes around. That's a conversation. I mean, Modest is trending in that direction. Big wing, playmaking, great defensively, but that shot is showing to be there. I mean, that's Bulls fans, hold on to your hope for that. I think that's what we got because I don't think we're going to be bad enough to be really excited come the lottery time next year. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're not going to have much hope as a Chicago Bulls fan, but I mean, look what the Mavs did this past year. Just kind of maybe just try to hold on to that a little bit. But yeah, Kobe and Giddey kind of continue to vibe out, get an honest look at Buzelis and Asenge, and then hopefully that turns into some fun matchups. That's got to be the play in Chicago. And then flipping back to the West, the Dallas Mavericks. And people kind of forget that they missed the playoffs last year, but my question for them: can they mount a playoff push? AD back at the 4, where he's been crying out to be basically since the bubble. Cooper Flag comes in. This is a team that could potentially have one of the all-time great defenses with the size and versatility that they have on that end. I look at them and I say they got to be the surprise package. People are kind of sleeping on them because Kyrie's likely going to be out, but this is a team that can still mount a big challenge to the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, and that's got to be their aim because even though Cooper's a rookie, there's a lot of expected of him. This is a team that's already got a mega high payroll. There's no waiting around. They gotta be competitive now.
I have two smaller questions on that note. I think that they can make a playoff push, but I mean their defense is going to be so good. I think Cooper is. I mean he's already going to be an All NBA level defender. I think. And the question I have for him, in terms of how far they get playoff wise, we don't know when Kyrie's going to get back. So he's going to have plenty of opportunity on the ball. We've seen that. Can he be a point forward, like a true point forward? Can they run some offense through him? We saw it at Duke. We've seen some of it in Summer League. We've seen flashes of it here in preseason. Can he be like a true secondary playmaker? And he'll get the chance to be the primary playmaker a lot until Kyrie's back. Because if he can answer that bell and he can be pretty consistent there, he can attack mismatches, he can run a bit of offense, he can orchestrate just a little bit. I mean, this is a team that could go pretty far if they put all that together. Like, I think a lot is banking on health. Too much is banking on health, in my opinion, and a rookie. Health and a rookie is just not like a great bet, but on paper it's there. I think the question is just how acclimated he gets, and if that shot comes around, if he can really continue to stretch the floor, because shooting is going to be a problem for them. Defense is going to be a fun way to watch this team. If you want to watch some grit and grind, if you want to watch another team score less than 3 digits multiple times a week, like that, this team is going to force it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, like if they're healthy, I think like we could see AD resurge into the DPOY conversation, playing a little bit more off ball, a little bit as like as a help defender, like little things like that. Like, and if Lively, hopefully he can put together a healthy year this year. Him and Gafford at that center position, obviously so huge. And Cooper, like you said, like this is like they're going to be built on defense, but like people always say, like championship teams are built off defense, and that's what this Dallas team is going to be, and they can be in that position where maybe they're in the realms of the 5-6 spot in the Western Conference, and Kyrie's coming back around March time or something like that. Then they're in a great position to maybe go on a surprise run in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Eastern Conference, the good old Toronto Raptors. And I kind of got two questions here. One, just the obvious one: do they make sense? Does this roster make sense? And then also, is Scotty Barnes all NBA quality?
Yeah, that was my question right in front of me. And is Scotty Barnes still their cornerstone?
Mm-hmm.
They did not really put together a team that makes sense, and I don't know if that's just out of poor planning or just strategy, or if they're really just like searching for a guy to build around. Does their scouting department look around and say, I think maybe they want to see what they got out of Ingram. Is Ingram a guy that hasn't had the chance to really be the guy? Give him a chance here in Toronto. And I think the premise of that is maybe they're not so hot on Scotty anymore. Like, maybe they don't think Scotty is the guy. He's just one of the guys, but he's not the guy. Because the roster construction as it is set up where they're just like throwing darts and trying to get the best guy. Even and I love their draft pick, but he's another guy that kind of fits that similar mold. When do they start to just like full on build around Scotty? Maybe it's when he proves it to them. Maybe it's when Scotty takes a jump and actually shows that he is an all NBA level player, because he hasn't done it. And this is going to be the third year in a row where you're waiting for a jump. If he doesn't do it now, is it because the team's not structured around him, or he's just not making those improvements? He's not, improving his mid-range. He's not improving his three-point shot, or he just can't. So a lot of questions for a team that should not be over the second apron, and it should be an interesting one because they got too much talent, but not talent that makes sense around each other.
Yeah, no, it's just funny. They're just like they've got that mix of youths and rejects kind of on their team. That's kind of what they're made up of. And then but at the same time, you're like, this is a team that their payroll is just so insanely high that they gotta be pushing for the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Like they cannot finish in the bottom four again in the East. Like that would just be shambolic. That would be embarrassing for Toronto, a team that was always so consistent over throughout like the 2010s, winning that title obviously in 2019. Like this is a team that needs to be challenging at least for playoff position in the Eastern Conference for sure.
Are you still a Quickly guy?
I love IQ, but like believing in him as the starting point guard on a team expected to make a playoff push.
That's not how we felt when they got him. We were like, oh, here we go. Quickly's got his shot.
That's true. Last year was tough.
Elite defender. He can shoot.
I'll give him an honest look at it this year, but this is like the final tester year for him if he can do it as part of this team. And like, as well, he's like still. It's a crazy thing. We still haven't seen Ingram play a regular season game on this team, even though they was traded there at the trade deadline, which is just seems crazy. And another team that there's a lot of craziness and question marks about, the good old Phoenix Suns. And I guess the question there has got to be, is there life after KD and Beal?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're excited about some of the young guys. I think they're excited with the addition of Mark Williams. And I think that there's some tepid optimism around their new acquisition in Jalen Green, who I think you could talk yourself into being reinvigorated after, This is his first time being traded, and there were some moments throughout the last year where his role wasn't always consistent. Şengün's team, that's his team. It's his turn. Now it's your turn. Do you shoot too much? Do you shoot too little? Are you attacking enough? Are you getting doubled here? And I think that for him, things become a little bit more simple next to Devin Booker. Devin Booker's opportunity to be like true point here again. But I think Jalen Green just kind of gets to be himself. There's no pressure. I think there's a lot less pressure on Jalen Green to be this elite on ball decision maker as opposed to just kind of embodying like a true scorer. Just let him be a pure scorer. Let him shoot the ball and not worry about, hey, well, you should have attacked here and made a play here. Like Devin Booker that's going to be his primary responsibility. On the Rockets, I think there's a little bit too much put on his shoulders in that regard, and that's maybe not who he is. So maybe the Suns can bank on that. This is a young guy who I think we still think has sky high talent. We've seen so many flashes of it. He only got one chance to really show what he can do in the playoffs. We'll see what he learns from that, and maybe this will be a dynamic wing guard duo that's going to be really tough to guard against. You can't double both of them.
Yeah, no, like the backcourt obviously going to be fun. I would be a little bit more excited about Phoenix if they could realistically play like two of Williams, Richards, and Malawak together. If one of them could like have some sort of ability to kind of space the floor this year, I'd definitely be a lot more excited about them. But like the size of this team kind of definitely scares me. The Booker, like their starting lineup, I guess is probably gonna be like Booker, Green, Brooks, Dunn, and Mark Williams. Like that's a little bit of a worry about the lack of size they've got there. But in terms of a fun team to watch, in terms of getting to see Devin Booker kind of take this team back and see what he can do, trying to lead this team forward. And of course, Green, like you always get excited about these young guys who are kind of shipped to the side and get a new lease of life. It's going to be like so exciting, and they could be one of the highest scoring backcourts in the NBA next year. Like that's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. Honestly, I think that Ryan Dunn and Dylan Brooks are two wings that play big. I mean, Ryan Dunn is a fantastic on-ball defender. Same thing with Dylan Brooks. I think both those guys are going to be dogs on the floor. They got two guys at any point in time. You throw them on the other team's best defender, you feel pretty good. And I think they can play the floor pretty decently. And I wasn't even thinking about Malawich in that brief second there, but I mean, they got two young bigs, man, to be excited about. I think they got a little bit of an injection of life, maybe not a ton. If you're a real NBA sicko, maybe you're excited about Oso Ighodaro. It's another guy that they're taking a flyer on. See if he starts to stick there as a big. But I think they got some young guys that may have some juice here, and I think they'll have enough size and versatility. They got three bigs to lean on. The Nick Richards experiment did not really go so well, so they'll try the next Charlotte Hornets big and see how that works out. But I think on its surface, entering like summer league preseason, maybe not so excited, but now like having time to let the dust settle, I think the Suns maybe get a new lease on life. Seems a little bit dramatic for a team that was touching the NBA Finals. Has had it all stripped away. But now that Bradley Beal is gone, KD is gone, there's a little bit of freshness here to see what it looks like next with this next iteration. We'll see.
A few less eyes on them that can help a team as well. A little bit less obvious criticism in the national media, that can always you never know what sort of impact that might be able to have too in Phoenix.
Fair.
All right. Super simple. The Brooklyn Nets, really not much to get excited about out there in Brooklyn. The question I have for them is, I guess, can MPJ or Cam Thomas make an all-star push? That's something I would look at maybe. No, simple as that. Just straight up. Not a hope.
No. My question is, what egregious ways will they try to lose this season? They're like, you asked Sai what their strategy is for this year, and he, like, in the most unashamed way, was like, yeah, we're tanking. Like, he should have just said tanking. He was like, you saw what we did last year. Yeah, we saw you tank. We saw you disrespect the game. We saw, and I think this is a team that's going to try to be competitive because Hernandez is a competitive coach, and they've shown that they do that, and they've shown that they will pull guys and they will fake injuries and that they will find any way to continue to lose games. I think the one interesting thing to watch for them is if you're interested in these young guys that they drafted, drafted all 4 of their first round picks, the 3 of which were guards, and at that, all 3 of them are known for their talent for playmaking. They're playmaking guards. They're not shooters, not great on the other end. And Igor Demin, 8th pick, little controversial at that point. A lot of people thought maybe he was more so like a late lottery pick. They picked him in the top 10. He's going to get every chance. He's going to have a really long leash. So if you're really excited to see what a big playmaking wing could do, I think Igor Demin, there's your watch. I think that's the one interesting thing that the Nets fans or anyone watching the Nets will get to see is you don't always get these guards with as much playing time and opportunity to see how they translate in the NBA. And he's going to get every opportunity, especially if it leads to losses.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess then we also just look to, with all these draft picks that Brooklyn have, how are they going to give up on the long game and trade these picks or players that they draft into a couple of more stars that are going to fail for them? That's the next thing we got to look out for Brooklyn, because that's just all they seem to do. That's all they've done since they've
Are they still
since they've been in
interested in
Brooklyn.
Scotty? I don't know.
Yeah. Let's Brooklyn, please, for the love of God, just commit to the long game and draft well and build up a team naturally. Like it's time for that to happen. All right. Portland Trailblazers, a team we were talking about earlier. We're talking about Shaedon Sharpe, and I guess you're kind of just looking and saying, can they make sense of this roster, and can they be a team that's legitimately in the conversation in the play-in or in the Eastern or the Western Conference?
I think they'll be a play-in team, firmly. I think they'll firmly be a play-in team. I think they'll make noise. There's a chance that they sneak into the playoffs. I think their defense is legit. I'm glad they locked in Tumani Kamara. He is a tremendous defender, great two-way player. They got in the leadership of Drew Holiday. We already know that Denny Avdia has really come into his own there. Great two-way player, great playmaker from the wing. Klingen's finally going to get the chance to really do his thing there. And we've seen how much of a deterrent he can be. I mean, he's going to be an elite interior defender in this league. If he's not already going to be that, we'll see that in the next couple of months. It'll be fun to see Yang like they just got a lot of different flavors to this team, man. I mean, you throw Yang Hansen in there, he's going to get some playing time, and we'll get to see the playmaking from him. I think they have a lot of room to grow, and they already have the floor of a really competitive defensive team, and it's fantastic to see that that's really turned around there for them when that's what they brought Billups in for. It didn't come around initially, but they really bought in. They really bought in. We've seen that buy-in too from guys like Scoot Henderson, who even when his shot wasn't falling, even when his offense wasn't coming around, that defensive effort was there. So you really see that message shining in through this team. And I think with that level of competition and the adults they got in the room, the interior defense, and I think if we're projecting Shaedon Sharpe to have an up year and Denny to continue to being good, I think that they'll be a top 10 seed. I feel that they'll have a chance for that. The Western Conference is so tough, but with that improvement, I think they have a chance.
Yeah, no, that defensive side of it, and hopefully we get to see Shaedon Sharpe, maybe even Scoot Henderson, kind of really take a leap this year. That'll be huge, and maybe we'll see. Do they potentially finally trade Jeremy Grant, a guy that's been in the rumor mill for a long time? It's going to be super interesting to see how they kind of look to start which of these lineups plays the most minutes. It's a team that they obviously on paper they still have a lot to figure out, but they're starting to get that little bit of consistency there. Like you said, the leadership of Holiday, the size they've got at the center position, and the excitement with these two young big men. This is a really exciting team, and it just can translate into a play-in position. That would be obviously really fun to watch. And Portland are a team that are always fun, and they're a team that you kind of want to believe in. I don't really know why Portland. I always feel like everyone has a little soft spot for the Portland Trailblazers, and likes to see them in and around the conversation.
It's good to have them be good, man. And are you talking about Grant though? I will say this: my biggest, aside from the defense, is their depth. You don't need to trade him. I don't think he's really that trade. There's not going to be a lot of value. You have so much depth there. If any one of their wings goes down, Jeremy Grant coming in and getting more minutes, Denny getting more minutes. If Denny goes down, there's Grant there to fill that defensive role. They're a team that I think can survive some injuries throughout the season, which that is such an advantage for a Western Conference that's so deep. We talked about the Mavs, for example, that if they have one of their key guys go down, not a lot of depth behind them. Teams
No,
that
that's very
they're
true.
very
Yeah.
well set up. Yeah.
No, agreed. All right, now this team we don't spend too much time on, the good old Philadelphia 76ers. Crazy to say we're talking about this as a non-playoff team from last year,
Yeah.
but I guess the very obvious question is it time to give up on the process? Is it time to turn to the youth? That's what they have to answer this season. If this season is another disaster, it's over. They got to give up.
I don't think it's time. I think that, the question is obviously centered around health. It's always about health with this team. But they're the only team in the NBA that can say that they missed the playoffs, they missed the play-in, but they could reasonably aim for a championship this year. It's a
Yeah,
long shot to think that they could be healthy, but if you imagine in a miracle world in which modern medicine has fixed these two, and I'm talking about Paul George and Embiid, you got an MVP level player. You got a multi-time All-Star in Paul George. You have an All-Star in Tyrese Maxey. You have an ascending offensive talent in McCain. You got a high-octane rookie. You got depth. You just have all the ingredients to win a championship.
yeah.
It's all there. Obviously, it depends on that health, and it's probably I would never bet anything on it. I wouldn't bet the shirt off my back. But they're the only team who could really say, hey, if we're healthy, we could win a championship. And it's legit. I
Yeah.
truly believe that. And it's sad that, it's probably not going to happen because Embiid at this point, I think his body is just really in its final stages of breaking down. We'll see if I think this is really the year where it's like, if he can't be healthy, I mean, they really got to just, they probably, I don't know, do they resign it? That's one of the big questions of like, how do we let this go into its twilight as we work on these young guys? I think that'll become clear this season. But I think this season, I mean, obviously they go for it. They still got Paul George under contract. They still have Joel Embiid under contract. And it frankly doesn't matter. If they're not here, great. We have our young guys. We got really lucky to draft the way that they have. Edgecombe, let's see what you do. Full run.
Mm-hmm.
Grimes, give you a bigger role. And they have that luxury where if they're not healthy, there's at least the youth process.
Yeah.
So
No, that's the thing. It's just like this whole season is just about answering whether or not like they can like you said, the championship aspirations are absolutely real if they're healthy. The health is just a huge question mark, and then by this time next year, if they end up I don't know as a play-in team or they're out in the first round, then you really start to look okay. Do we just ship these guys to the side and just say that we're going all in on youth? There's no more. Oh well, we can go all on youth while these guys sit on the sideline. There's just take that idea out of it and completely buy in on the likes of Maxey, McCain, Edgecombe. Like that's what we're gonna see this year. This like kind of feels like it has to be the last year of the process.
yeah,
All right, Spurs. I mean, I just thought mine was just very specific here. I'd say can Wemby reach All NBA first team? That's and
yes,
and then everything else comes with
yes,
that. Yeah.
he'll win MVP.
All right.
I'm curious. I think that's not even a question. If he's gonna be all NBA, I think he'll be top 3 in MVP voting. I don't know if we'll win it. Spurs will have to do a lot, so it's carrying there. How do their 3 guards play together? I think that's my biggest question for them. They got a lot of talent there. I love what I'm seeing from Harper. Love the growth that we've seen from Castle. I think they're both fantastic players. I think Harper has all-star potential. I think Castle is, I don't know if he makes an all-star game, but he's going to be a fixture. He's going to be a competitor on a playoff team. If that's not the Spurs, somewhere else. He's going to be a very good player. And there are other guys too. I mean, there's really possibility that you get Keldon Johnson back to where he's meant to be. Devin Vassell, once he's healthy, gets back there. But I think the dynamic on this roster that will really need to make sense is those 3 guards. Is how do they get Fox, Harper, and Castle to play well together? Whether it's staggering their minutes, how do they play off of each other? Can Harper and Castle really truly play off ball? Can there be a mix there? Those are important questions to ask. That I don't think that Wemby is necessarily the piece to fix that. I mean, they have to kind of figure that out on their own. That's going to be a big piece to whether or not this team is very good to, playoff good. Are they like a true contender, or is Wemby kind of carrying things and there's just a lot of clunkiness between three guards that are not elite shooters and kind of need their ball in their hands a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'll also just say the greatness of Wemby should be able to carry a team that level. Like he's capable of that level of greatness that he could carry them to being
Yeah.
competitive, maybe for that, even as high as that 60,
No,
and definitely in the play-in.
I think so. I agree with that, but I think that the difference between a Spurs team that is not just dangerous but legitimately like continue to go deep in the playoffs is if there is a working dynamic between those guards. If Wemby is getting doubled off of Harper, is getting doubled off of Castle, and there's not a lot of off-ball movement, they're not mixing in actions that are getting them involved and making them actual threats, and then you kind of have like a confused backcourt, then I think that really limits their ceiling. I don't think their ceiling is. I think they're still kind of like a low end playoff team to play in team if their backcourt's not really up to par.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there really is a world where they go on a deep playoff run this year. I think the best case scenario is they get to the playoffs and Wemby kind of has his playoff moment. I would be very, very surprised if they were able to win a playoff series this year. But like you always say, we love to be wrong on this podcast, so
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that too.
listen, man. I think we're forgetting about De'Aaron Fox, man. We're forgetting about De'Aaron Fox.
We are.
De'Aaron Fox has had his playoff moments. If that thumb is right, I think they beat the Golden State Warriors. I think we're talking about a Kings team that had a deep run that year, a few years back. But I think that there's a possibility, but I'm worried about the guard play and how they work on the floor together.
That's fair. All right, almost finishing out here. Let's go back to the East. The Charlotte Hornets. Let's keep it simple. Can LaMelo Ball stay healthy?
No. I think the answer is no to that. I think they're seeing too much of it. I hope that he can be healthy enough. I mean, I'll take the average of it. I don't think he'll miss the whole year because that would be kind of extreme, but maybe he's done enough with his body to maybe play 50 games. Maybe he'll play 55 games. My question then is, can Brandon Miller be the guy?
Mm-hmm.
Can he be the stabilizing force? I mean, I think that LaMelo's their true ceiling. If LaMelo is healthy and Miller's making the step forward, I think, okay, great. Now you're looking at a playoff team. Like you've made a jump. Because I love what they've done with the roster. I think Concanipple is going to immediately be an impact player for them. He's just such a smart, instinctual basketball player. He's going to really space the floor well for them. I think Bridges still is in the right role for them. I think there's just so many things about this team that could go well, but it has to happen with Brandon Miller taking that big step forward. And if he does that, I think they can survive LaMelo being out. If LaMelo's out for a couple weeks, Brandon Miller takes on a little bit more load. Can he do that? And I think that's my big question for the Hornets this year.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I'm kind of out on LaMelo Ball, and I'm definitely most excited to watch Brandon Miller take that leap and get to see him be healthy. Obviously, he missed some time to finish out last year and get obviously after a promising rookie year. So yeah, I'm really excited to see him come back and see what sort of leap he takes. That's definitely, when it comes to Charlotte, that's what I'm most excited to see for sure. And then of course we have the same question for the New Orleans Pelicans. Can Mr. Zion Williamson stay healthy?
Yeah, that's always a question. And I don't know, he looks pretty fit, man. He looks pretty fit.
He does.
I'm going to assume this year that he has a healthy season, plays 70 games. And I think my big question for the Pelicans then is it's not what that's going to look like. I think Zion Williamson, if he's healthy, they're firmly a play-in team, low-end playoff team. We know what that offense looks like. You love the potential of Trey Murphy. I think he's going to continue to get better. Herb Jones, we know how elite defensively he is. The front court, obviously a little concerned with Kevon Looney being out. I'm not sure how long he'll be out for. Derek Queen, a rookie center, playmaker, not sure how he's going to fit. Definitely question marks there. I think the defense, though, that's a big question. You have some playmakers on the wings. Can Zion Williamson, at his current fitness, can he be an impact defender? That is the difference maker, I think, between this Pelicans team being a good, spunky play-in / low-end playoff team to being elite. We've seen him at times, when he has that energy, when he has that drive, he can be a decent on-ball defender. He can be a very strong, weak side help defender defending the rim. but it's not consistent. If he does that consistently that season, I think that's that next step. We already know offensively what we're going to get from him. That the Pelicans would then be vaulted and they would have the opportunity maybe to be in the playoffs, not just fumbling around in the play-in.
And God, they've been waiting a long time for that. But like you said, like excited to see again Murphy and Herb Jones, and like let's get a full year. Like effectively, like
Yeah.
that's the Pelicans like big three. Like let's get to see them all on the floor for at least 65 plus games this year. Like
Yeah.
that'd be a huge plus
Yeah.
to see from this New Orleans team.
And a little side quest is Jordan Poole going to have a comeback season? The vibes are kind of there. The vibes are
Oh
kind
my
of
God,
there.
I honestly totally forgot about him being there.
Is Jordan Poole going to have a comeback season in a Pelicans jersey? Is he going to save them?
I guess the PG spot is his. Have
Yeah.
we got a timeline on DeJounte, or is that still there's still a while to go there?
He's probably gone for the season. I'm pretty sure he's IR.
Yeah, but just because like obviously that he suffered that injury early last year, right? That was like November
Yeah.
of last year,
I mean,
right?
he's still, I mean, that he's probably maybe back around like January.
Yeah,
So maybe he makes a late season push. I mean that's another elite defender right there with them. But without banking on that, I mean Jordan Poole. I mean he will get to run the show, and I think he did enough to like save himself and get him out of Washington, right?
he did.
He did enough.
Yeah, I mean, like let's see, like Jordan Poole, maybe one last hurrah here as a starter on the team that hopefully have ambitions about winning games this year. So yeah, for sure, that's going to be. I mean, I guess that's the first time he's had that since leaving the Warriors, because obviously the Wizards. I mean, the Wizards are the Wizards. They're never really about winning games, and especially not while he was there. But yeah, that's going to be interesting. But speaking of the Wizards, let's close out the Eastern Conference. I mean, I don't have too much to think about the Wizards. My thing was just, can Alex Sarr take a year two leap?
Yeah, we're all watching it. I think a lot of us who are a little bit questionable about his motor and his effort, I think saw a guy who's going to get better. Saw a guy who has really unicorn potential. I think that's a progression that will take a little bit of time, and I'm curious to see over the course of the season. I think the biggest question mark I have for them is who will be on this team for the future. They have too many wings, and they have too many wings that do the same thing. And they're really excited about Trey Johnson. A little more on the smaller side, but he's still like a scoring wing. That's his best position is probably a 2-3. Cam Whitmore, who just came in, I'm still a Cam Whitmore guy. He's going to be hungry. He's going to really want to compete here. But Keyshawn George, he's a guy that showed them a lot of flashes last season. They really like him there. A lot of guys do the same thing. Who's going to show it? Who's going to get the opportunity, really, to show that they will be part of this next iteration? I think the Wizards really do like what they're building. And they got a couple of young guys I think they're really keen on building around. Bilal, I think he's still got good potential. I really like Trey Johnson and Alex Sarr. I mean, so this is a really interesting building year, though. I don't think this will be a pure tanking year. I think this will be a development year. I think there are guys to watch. We'll just see how functional it looks on the court.
Yeah, I think guys to watch, but almost definitely another pretty disappointing year, and that Eastern Conference they could still end up as the lowest seed there. And then the final one, another team that there really isn't too much to say about, the good old Utah Jazz. All I can really think about for the most part is, can Ace Bailey challenge Cooper Flag for Rookie of the Year?
No. Answer to that is no. And I'm going to push back on you on that, actually.
Okay.
I think the Utah Jazz are going to win too many games, and they're going to have to make a trade. Isaiah Collier, quietly, is the best playmaker on this team. Per 36 minutes, had a top 5 assist to turnover ratio in the NBA. He's a guy they're very excited in, and he's already taken the starting spot from Keontae George. They got some depth from a guy like their rookie Walter Clayton Jr. They're very keen on. He's a vet, and he's a guy that I think is going to be able to absorb NBA minutes. Bryce Sensabaugh, I mean, I know you're not believing me now, but these are going to be names that I think that are going to be coming up. He's going to be elite 3-point shooter from them. Taylor Hendricks, unfortunately, his season ended short last season with that freak injury, breaking his tibia. He's he's got great potential to be a very good two-way wing, and I think defensively he's already going to be there. Lauri Markkanen was injured a lot last season, but they were kind of weird injuries. They were kind of tanking injuries. He had a down year when they obviously their goal was to lose games. Walker Kessler, another year of development. Behind him, you got Kyle Filipowski, a guy we saw a lot of good flashes from last season. They got some vets on this team. There's just a lot of things to work with on a team that has shown that they can outperform. We know that we've seen it before.
Okay, let me like ask you like this. Okay, so everyone's healthy. Are the Jazz better than the Trailblazers?
No,
Are they better than the Spurs?
no.
Are they better than the Pelicans?
Mm, maybe.
Are they better than the Kings?
Yes, I think so.
Are they better than the Suns?
Maybe.
Are they better than the Mavs?
Are the Mavs healthy?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, so in like thinking of that, and they're in the Western Conference, that makes me kind of feel like they're not going to be in the position to actually win too many games where they have to trade. I think they could have some fun players, and maybe they could start to make sense this year. But actually winning games, I don't really see that happening.
I mean, I'm thinking about Will Hardy. What they did a couple years ago. I mean, they were I want to say they were a top 6 seed before they really had to tank, and that was the year that they got Kyle Filipowski. They got stuck in the bottom of the lottery because of it. I I think that if we look at the guy that Lauri Markkanen was, and we look at the depth that they have around him, and we know the type of system that Will Hardy can work with these guys, they turn something out of nothing. There's just something here that I feel like come January time, they could be good enough. They could be approaching 30 wins for the season that they don't want to win. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but I think that they'll show enough with these young guys that they may have to seriously think about trading Lauri Markkanen if they want to keep tanking for this next draft.
I feel pretty good thinking that the Utah Jazz will lose or will have the fewest wins in the Western Conference this year. I very much, I'd probably be willing to put a bet on that, but at the same time, health always kind of completely blows these things up. Although actually, maybe the Sacramento Kings, maybe the Sacramento Kings could end up being worse. But I don't have that optimism with Utah that you do. But we'll see how it plays out. I guess the final question I have with them: do you think they'll regret not trading Lauri Markkanen sooner? Has he lost his value, or will he bounce back? Do you think this year?
I think the injuries last year were weird, and it was just clearly a tanking season. Just the team wasn't as engaged. And the year before that, I think that what I'm saying is that they reclaim the same competition that they had the year before that. I think that Lauri Markkanen is up for a big year. If he's going to be, there's no reason to think that he's fully healthy. He looked fantastic playing in Europe over the summer. And if that's the guy that they're getting back, I mean, I think he's an all-star level player through and through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair. And then that's a wrap. That's all the questions for the non-playoff teams going into the new year. But before we call it quits, I do have to put you on the spot here real quick, as the season is about to start. I gotta get some predictions out of you. So we'll just keep it super simple. Who will be the NBA champions in 2026?
The Oklahoma City Thunder. They're going to repeat.
Who will be the MVP in 2026?
The Spurs are going to make the playoffs, and it's going to be Wembanyama. He's going to win his first MVP.
Nice. And I guess then you have the same answer for DPOY?
He's going to be the first DPOY and MVP since... Put you on the spot.
Since... Yikes. That has been... Ooh... Hakeem?
It was Giannis.
Oh, damn. I forgot about Giannis. Damn, yeah.
2019, for him, it was Hakeem, both in
Yeah.
93, 94. And
Oh,
Michael
damn.
Jordan won
Okay.
both
All
in
right.
87, 88.
Interesting. Yeah, that'll be impressive. All right. Who will be the most improved player this year?
I'm gonna throw it out. I think this is a homer take. You know me, I don't do a lot of these. I think Matas Buzelis is gonna win most improved this year.
I love it, brother. I love that optimism as a Chicago Bulls fan. That's the way that you're supposed to be with your team is like this. And the final question then: who will be the surprise team of the 2026 season?
It's gonna be the Trailblazers. There's always a team that overperform, and everyone's like, "Where did that come from?" I think that they're going to be, they're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make it out of the play-in. They're gonna be in the playoffs, and they're gonna make some noise.
Nice, nice. I love it. Yeah, that's it. Not didn't get too crazy on you, but yeah, no, I like them, and obviously I know how big of a Wemby guy you are, so I like you sticking to that. I like you backing your Bulls. That's what I like to hear, Chris. This is good vibes. But that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for sticking with us. NBA basketball is back, baby. Tonight we've got the Thunder and the Rockets. We're gonna see the banner go up in OKC, and of course it's opening night, so we gotta see. Well, what we would have thought was going to be LeBron and Curry, but it's just going to be Luka against Steph Curry, which should hopefully be a fun game. It's going to be interesting to see how both of these two teams line up in the first game. The integration of DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart in LA, the integration of Al Horford and others in Golden State. It's going to be a fun opening night, and then everything kind of kicks off from there. But thanks so much for sticking with us. Remember, we're everywhere on social media at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.